it's been a few years now of me hearing about this film and your experience and you guys getting back together. And, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I think especially, you're very good, Nick, at getting into those big, lavish, epic dramas. And I really long for those films nowadays. And I think that it's not that many people who dare to go there because it's hard to make those kind of classic filmmaking films. So thank you. I thought it was so beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm just excited to hear what it was like. Obviously, seeing the film myself brings back so many memories of when we shot our film. And this obviously is another epic, historic drama. But yeah, I'm also quite, interested in, I know that you've adapted this from a novel, Nick. But I guess a bit like with the Royal Affair, I mean, I got to learn a bit of Danish history there, and I'm interested to know how much is just fiction from the novel and how much was actually maybe inspired by real events, etc.
Yeah, the novel takes sort of the true characters of Ludwig Kalen, which is Matt's character, and then the antagonist of the Shingle. Those two characters are real. The events that sort of surrounded Ludwig going out on the heath and trying to make something of himself and being the first person to conquer the heath, that's real. And the Shingle being quite a brutal tyrant baron, that's also true. But the novelist Ida Jessen, she fictionalized certain events around the characters. So she took, for instance, the character of Anne Barbara and my moose, certain characters and fiction, and these are fictional characters. So she did creative fiction around a set of real events. But we adapted the novel quite faithfully, I would say.
Yeah, how was it? How was the work? You've worked with Anders before, the writer. Yeah. How is it when you try and tackle a book of, just methodically figuring out what to keep and what not?
I think most importantly, we were really looking for we always start with theme, which is very much something Anders Thomas also enjoys, the big theme. I really wanted to figure out what the journeys of the characters were and what the personal relationship that I would have with the main character. That's always my in to any film. But the theme for us, control versus chaos. Can you control your life? What is important in life? If you're a driven person, if you're completely ambitious and always try to achieve something, will you not be able to see, what's true and what's love, family? Those themes were important to me, and we quite quickly figured out that was the main theme of the film. And in terms of adapting the book, I think it's what you always do, which is you take that. I mean, there are literally hundreds of pages in the book, which is about nature. The growing, the heath that's growing slowly, and the potatoes, and there's a lot of stuff that we had to kind of excise because it would have been a 7-hour-long film.
It's interesting. I really find that the work you did with Rasmus is, of course, it's a lot of pages, but I think the cinematography and the craftsmanship of the whole film, and the sound and the edit, really, gave you a feel of the land, and you really felt that the land was a very big part of the film. So
I'm really happy you say that. That was definitely also the ambition and the goal. And I actually think this is Rasmus's best work ever. I mean, I've done every single film with him as a DOP. I think this is his most stunning work that he's done. I think it's amazing what he did here, and especially on the kind of budget that we had. All this because you also
what was the budget?
Scandinavian, I think it was like 7 or 8 million, right? So it's it's an accomplishment, and a lot of that goes to Ras's credit. Yeah.
And so how was it to work together again? And for you, Mads, I mean, the lovely character, I'm sure was...
missed you.
Yeah, I mean, come on, well, we'll figure it out. Third time lucky, we'll bring the whole band back together.
The band back together. Yeah.
But we got a tiny version of you. We got a little Swedish girl.
Yeah, we got a little... That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I did send my tape for that part, but I don't know, I never heard back. So
No, your Danish was too good.
Yeah.
We couldn't use
Exactly.
it was easy, Alicia. It was very easy. You know, last time obviously it took us like a couple of weeks to find each other, how we work. Is there any paranoia here? Are we on the same page? And that was kind of gone because we've been friends since. So it was actually on from day one. It was very easy to go in and come up with ideas and start working right away. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I totally understand that now. I remember like when I was, young in the beginning of my career, I always thought that, wondered why some people end up doing so many films together. And it's so clear why, because you just end up having like a direct language and, you don't have to say much on set and you can really read one another and focus because you have so little time anyway on set that it really makes a big
Yeah, but there's a risk. I think there's a risk if you work too much together. There is definitely a risk that you're kind of getting lazy. You know exactly what you want from each other. You just pull out drawer five. We'll do drawer five today. That
You've
risk
done
is
a lot.
always there.
I mean, like worked with a lot of directors.
Yes, but
several
that's the
times.
point. So the risk of that, you really have to pay attention to. That's not going to happen. What we do need from each other is to be more comfortable than we would be with anyone else, so we can push each other a little further than you would go with anyone else. And I think that the bravery, I mean, one of the themes, obviously, this character of mine is not necessarily a super likable person from the get-go. And it takes quite a while before we see some glimpse of humanity in him. And it takes a little bravery to trust each other and say, yes, it's going to happen on page 68, but it will happen. You would probably, with a different director, a different actor, you would say, let's do it a little earlier. You would get in doubt. But we were very stubborn, both of us, to look at each other and say, that's what we decided on, that's what we're going.
That's so cool to hear because that was really something I also kind of singled out and liked. And in a way, I saw, with your skillful writing, Tunic, on the film that we made, it's this lavish historic costume dramas, but it's all about finding the grit and the humanity and the dirt and
Right.
within
The intimacy.
both the places and especially the people.
Right.
So yeah, was that? So that's interesting. So that's. Do you think you pushed it further than what you had thought when you were on set? Sometimes I just wonder what the difference is. Sometimes I often come with a lot of ideas in my head on set, and then it's just interesting to see the things that naturally change when you actually end up shooting the film.
I think compared to the last one, I mean, the intrigues of the last one were more elaborate. So there's a lot of more different kind of stories and backgrounds, where this is quite simple. There are people in this class and there are people in that class. And then there are one man who has an ambition, who basically creates his own faith. I mean, there's so many times he can turn left and make this an easier or more beautiful story, but he keeps turning right. So he's the problem in his own life, right? And so it was a more simple structure, I would say, than the previous one.
Yeah. It was a simpler story in many ways. What I also feel in relation to our last one, and of course it's natural that we should be talking about this, obviously the three of us, is that the last one felt lavish it was also a romance, and it was about idealists, right? It was about two idealistic people who meet up and really fall in love and want to change the world. So it was a very positive energy running through that movie. And even the crazy king had a sort of childish, energy to him. And of course, everything gets corrupted in the end of a royal affair, and it gets pretty tragic. But in this one, it's almost like the opposite. It starts with a man who wants something that's not very likable at all. He just wants power and money. And so that was a different thing for me. And it was kind of I think it's the first time I've made something with a main character that was a little more sort of like it was not so much of a hero, and and you definitely have to wait a lot longer to sort of open up and see, oh, maybe there is a little bit of hope and love in his heart, which was interesting. And I don't think I could have done that 10 years ago. I think that's sort of something that has changed within me, that I felt I guess, I don't know whether bravery or courage, but
Or
maybe
you get more
age.
cynical.
Yeah, I get a
with
little more cynical, and,
No,
and
but it's
also,
so funny
you
because
know,
I'm thinking when you're talking about it, it's like I was like, yeah, but it's very humane, isn't it?
right, yeah,
I already go there and trying to justify this man too, and
right,
which is why I like that he wasn't, one dimensional in that sense. And to be honest, I did want to go on the journey because I felt like I saw someone of flesh and blood, and the lure of power and money, I think, is something that a lot of people, and I think with growing up and with age, you're more truthful and maybe expressing that you do have those wishes.
sure,
But I think the power and money is one thing. I think that one thing that dawned on us when we started diving into the character was that he so desperately wants to be part of something that he hates. And I think that is an interesting undercurrent for any character. You're not even aware of it yourself, that you want to be loved by someone you hate, or you want to be part of nobility, which he loathed. It was not a theme, but once we realized it, we just thought it was a really interesting dilemma in a character who's not self-aware at all.
Yeah. And I want to mention, I thought Amanda Collins as Anne, right? Yeah, I thought she was really, really stunning. Her strength with that part, I thought was really piercing. How was it working with her? And you're good at writing women, so yeah, I'm just interested to hear. Was she a big part again of? You mentioned that she was in the book, but sometimes with female characters, you end up having to lavish them out a bit more throughout.
right. I mean, I think we were helped by the fact that the novelist is a woman who wrote the novel, and her female characters were definitely strong, and so I think we were helped by that a lot. And also, I think one thing that I had with Amanda, which was fun on this film, was that we discussed the journey of Aunt Barbara. Of course, we can't spoil too much if there's still people who haven't seen, but there's certainly a journey for her that we spoke of it very openly, that she would be nearly invisible in the beginning. In the beginning, we lean into the cliche of the sort of oh, the maid, here comes a maid. And you can sort of sense the strength, but she's not really, doesn't feel like an important character. And then just slowly she grows into, and Mads, sometimes I bug Mads with it. She almost becomes the lead of the film. Like in the end, she's the.
I knew it was for film, though. I was just waiting. I was like,
yeah, exactly.
I was like,
Yeah.
What, I think that what we both fell in love with is that when it comes to the female characters, we have three of them, and it's such a boring cliche to say, "Oh, strong women." I mean, normally when you pitch a character for a man, you're not going to say you're playing such a strong man.
No, it's
not interesting. But the problem, what was interesting with these strong women were that they were not strong on the terms of 2023 morals. We were not trying to squeeze the morals of you and me today into the characters.
They're in a different
time.
So.
Yeah,
all the men, right?
All the men, and so there's a hierarchy. We stay within that, and within that, it's you don't find them stronger than that. I mean, after what she's been through, that she can just stand on two legs is insane. The little girl, what she goes through in her life, she's only 6 years old, and then even the noble woman, when she has no choices. There are no choices for women at this time. She just has to play the game somehow and survive it, and that's what we found very attractive to the story.
Yeah. That was actually something, Alicia, that we found out quite late in the game with Edel, the character of Christine Torp, who plays the noblewoman, that she was, and also in the novel, actually, she was a little bit more in love with Ludwig. And one thing that I found that I sort of discussed with the actress who plays Edel was that it would be fun if she really wasn't at all. If she just didn't really care about him, but was just oh, here's a way out. I'll just grab that way out somehow. And we thought that was quite interesting, and it just made for a more complex character instead of oh, the damsel falls in love with the handsome.
No, I think just like you said, man. So that's you can't shy away from that. That is, sadly, been the one power that women had, you know, that they were able to kind of use.
Well, you had to use whatever you had at the time, and that goes for all the men as well. Unless you were a noble person, you had to find your way around everything. But there was also a hierarchy between the men and women. And at one point, so obviously we don't do completely 70s, 50s all the time, but I mean, hitting the little girl was something we looked at each other as like, we need to do it. This is what they would have done. I do hit her, but it's so not sympathetic, right? At the same time, we had to do it because that was a normal thing. Even Mbappe in the background, she doesn't even flinch because she's used to seeing this, right? So we had to be true to that kind of feel in that time.
Yeah, and what about the part that I didn't get then? What about the extremely wonderful Swedish
little Swedish
girl
girl
that you found?
Yes.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
we found
I
her after
remember
a
you
long time.
texting me and sending me videos and photos, you know, because I assume, you know, going through, you know, casting for animals and and then, you know, young children, and this is a big part, you know. It's a tough one, and you know, and you found this incredible girl, and I'm just interested to hear what the whole journey was.
You can almost imagine, Alicia, how hard it was to find her, and it was eerily similar to when we did a royal affair. Because I remember we had cast every single like leading lady and upcoming leading lady in Denmark until somebody had the idea that we should try and go to Sweden, and then in Sweden we found the miracle that was you, and then you got the part and you had to learn Danish, of course, and the rest is history. But and this exact same thing happened with Melina, not exactly, but you know, it was like we looked at every Danish girl from the age of 6 to 10, and in the end, I think I went like, let's go to Sweden because maybe the same thing will happen, and weirdly it did. Like then there was a caster in Sweden who sent us the tape of this girl, and she was just like spot on perfect. Of course, she had never done anything before, so it was interesting to. I mean, she was so much fun to work with, but she had never acted, so it was like it could be challenging at times. But
and for me, I mean, international audience might not know, but did that then lead you to having the, you know, the what group? Yeah, to cast Swedish.
Yes.
Yeah, we had to change it, and it was worth it. But I mean, we could get away with to a degree that people spoke different kind of Scandinavian languages in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway because it wasn't crisscross kings owning each other and whatever. But at one point, we ended up with all of a sudden 3 Swedish characters.
3 big,
So we just said, okay, we have to somehow justify why she speaks Swedish when she's all by herself. So we made the whole gang Swedish. And that
well, you got Magnus Krepper, you got a pretty fantastic
really good.
there.
Yeah.
So,
But we can add to her. I mean, it's the thing about the challenging part working with kids is always that you want to find that little gem that is not over rehearsed, that hasn't done too much, so there's still that purity in her acting. And at the same time, you also want them to be, you know, able to remember that stuff. And so this was a whole box of mixing things. But what you get some freebies when you just let her go her way and you follow her lead. Eventually, we end up with something you would never anticipate. I mean, there's one little scene where the tiny little family, for once, have a good day, a good time. There's food on the table. They're drinking little shots. And then the scene actually ends with her just screaming, "We got pancakes!" You know, and it's just out of the blue. And the reason why she said that was because there were pancakes. You know, so it's just wonderful when you work with somebody who's so open and then you just hang in there.
Yeah, that wasn't in the script. It was just her. That was fun.
Now I'm trying to remember.
We can talk.
On Kaka.
I was like, what yeah, I mean, just general questions. I always find it interesting, you know, now. So what work and, you know, getting on this film, what kind of, in general, work excites you nowadays? Like,
same as always. I'm waiting for somebody to call me up, and they have a fantastic, brilliant idea, and it's taking up their entire life, and then it become my dream. So it's always been the same. I don't start out with a dream, but when Nick comes with a dream, it
Yeah.
becomes my dream right away. And then
A bit like falling in love. You never
Yeah.
know.
then I know what to do for the next 4 months. I have to, fall in love with this. And so that's it hasn't changed. It's still the same for me.
Yeah. I would say there was definitely a plus to having done a royal affair together, and getting into this. It did make it. It was really truly like we were a team on this film.
We also lived right next to each other.
And when we were shooting, we had sort of facing balconies. So whenever we wouldn't be shooting, we would just be sitting on the balconies, like discussing the next day. It was kind of it was not quite as much like summer camp as Royal Affair was, but it was slightly similar in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
see each other
that was
from
such
the
an entry. I
balconies.
mean, it was perfect too. I was, early 20s, and my God, I mean, you guys too. My God, we
We
drank
were
beer
not
and
early
we were out
20s.
But very. No, when we come home from shooting and we couldn't see each other on the balconies, they were actually on top of each
Oh,
other.
that's right. Yeah.
And then I would sit. Yeah, I'm a smoker. So is Nick. I would sit out there thinking about what we did, and then I had an idea for something tomorrow. And then before I even started, I heard Nick going, "Mads, yeah, are you there?
I
Yeah,
love that
let's talk."
image. I love that you couldn't see one another. You could both
Yeah.
sit there kind of
We
in
were
your
just
underwear.
talk-
Or,
That was basically every single day. We kind of saw the next day on the balcony.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Well, I get jealous. Let's do something together
We
again.
should. We should. You're right. Let's
Yeah.
bring the band back together.
Should it be 1750s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
17. Let's do it. Yes. Let's complete a trilogy or something.
I think we can go forward. We can go future now instead.
Future.
It
That's a
was
good idea.
300 years in the future.
Yeah, that's also good.
Where there are no strong women.
No,
No strong women,
That's
strong
future.
men.
yeah,
Yeah.
only
Alright.
weak characters. Yeah.
What's up for
well,
you?
Yeah.
What's up for me? I'm having another big project coming on, another love story actually. So it's another baby arriving in 2 months, and then I will go to the future. Actually, not much. No, I will stay at home for 2 months, and then I'm going to go to South Korea and work.
Why not?
Yeah, and shoot like a sci-fi thriller.
Oh my God, I
action.
think you told me about this. That sounds amazing, that film.
Yeah, with Hong Jin-na, who
Right.
I think is incredible. So I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to kick some ass? Or is that kind of film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the beginning. It's also like a two-part film. So I come in the end of this, and you think that I've been something else. And then
Oh, you can't say all this. Alicia, you're saying too much. Just say, yes, I'm going to kick some ass.
Yeah, but in the end, I'm gonna be pretty badass by the end.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you
An
again.
amazing time in LA. Say hi to all the palm trees and nice weather, and I'll see you guys soon.
Good
And
to see
you
again.
enjoy the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so happy for you.
Yeah, we are.
Really happy.
And for you guys too. You have lots of new families.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you out there.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.